Hello well-wishers and welcome to my channel Aspiring Minds. In today's video, we are going to discuss a poem of the Victorian era by Robert Browning called My Last Duchess. So grab your virtual seats and let's begin. Now, Robert Browning was a very famous Victorian poet and playwright. He was known for a specific style of writing, that is, he used the dramatic monologues to write poems, and he explored complex psychological themes in his works. His poetry often delves into the mind of the characters and reveals their inner thoughts and emotions. And today we are going to see that in the poem that we are going to study today. Now, to tell you about the background to this poem, it's very important to understand. I told you previously also that the poem is a dramatic monologue. Now, what exactly is a dramatic monologue? I'll discuss towards the end of the video so that only those who are interested could watch it. Otherwise, the ones who are not interested, you can as it is skip it towards the end. So the poem is a dramatic monologue. It is set in the Renaissance time in Italy. The speaker of the poem, very important, is the Duke of Ferrara. He's addressing an emissary. By emissary I mean a diplomat, and he's negotiating the Duke's next marriage. Now the poem is going to reveal to us about the Duke's obsession with control and his dissatisfaction with his previous wife's behavior. Now let's decode the line by line meaning of the poem. That's my last Duchess, painted on the wall, looking as if she were alive. So what is the emotion captured? It's a very realistic painting that has been there on the wall of the Duchess. I call that piece a wonder. Now, Fra Pandolf's hands worked busily a day, and there she stands. Fra Pandolf was actually a painter. It's a fictitious painter, does not exist in reality. Robert Browning gave this name to the painter, and it is said that this painter had created the portrait of the deceased wife in almost a day's time, and there she stands. It seems like the appearance, the expression of the Duchess has been frozen in time aptly by the painter Fra Pandolf. Will it please you sit and look at her? I said, Fra Pandolf by design, for never read strangers like you that pictured countenance, the depth and passion of its earnest glance. So the Duke over here invites that diplomat. Remember I told you Duke of Ferrara had invited a diplomat, so he's inviting him to come forward and view the portrait, and he again mentions Fra Pandolf over here to highlight the depth and intensity with which he has been able to capture the exact same emotion and expression of the Duchess. But to myself they turned, since none puts by the curtain I have drawn for you but I. So in the bracket basically what's written is, he's saying that I've made Fra Pandolf capture this emotion of yours, and I keep your expression hidden behind the curtain. It is me who every day draws the curtain to your portrait so that no one else can see it without my permission. So you can see the amount of control he exercises even over the portrait or the painting of his wife. So imagine if she would have been alive, what kind of a control freak he might have been. And seemed as they would ask me if they durst how such a glance came there. So, not the first are you to turn and ask thus. So the Duke over here implies that other people who have seen this portrait have also questioned about the importance of this painting, hinting at what is the mystery behind the Duchess's expression. Now remember that we can understand by now that this particular Duke is a control freak. He wants to exercise control. So perhaps when Fra Pandolf had painted the portrait of the wife, he might have captured a very strange kind of an emotion, and everyone who has viewed the portrait so far has questioned the Duke about what is the portrait or the expression of your ex-beloved wife trying to say. Sir, 'twas not her husband's presence only, called that spot of joy into the Duchess' cheek. Perhaps Fra Pandolf chanced to say, "Her mantle laps over my lady's wrist too much," or paint must never hope to reproduce the faint half flush that dies along her throat. So the Duke over here provides a suggestion that that joy that is seen in the expression of the Duchess was not only due to the presence of the Duke, but was also influenced by the constant comments or remarks that were being made by the painter, perhaps when he was praising her clothing or the features while he was, it happens when the painter is trying to make a portrait, he'll say, "Oh, I'm loving the way I'm painting your eyes, they are so beautiful." So this thing also might have added to that strange, beautiful expression which was captured by the painter at that time. Such stuff was courtesy, she thought, and cause enough for calling up that spot of joy. So the Duchess perhaps considered the remarks and compliments of the artist as mere courtesy, yet they were enough to bring the joy on her face, because perhaps the Duke has never been able to bring that happiness on her face, but the remarks and the compliments of the painter did it so. Next he says, "She had a heart, how shall I say, too soon made glad, too easily impressed. She liked whatever she looked on, and her looks went everywhere." So here we see that the Duke is trying to give a kind of a character sketch of the Duchess, and he is, so to say, criticizing the Duchess for having a kind of character where she is easily pleased by any kind of compliments which are randomly given to her. See, he says that she would feel very glad, very happily. She was easy to impress, and whatever anyone would say, she was very gullible. She was very impressionable. Anyone could, change her decisions and her thought process. Then he goes on to say, "Sir, 'twas all one, my favour at her breast, the dropping of the daylight in the west, the bough of cherries, some officious fool broke in the orchard for her, the white mule she rode with round the terrace, all and each would draw from her alike the approving speech, or blush at least." So here the Duke lists out what are the various things which would make the Duchess happy. He's saying that if he would, provide her a favor at the breast, as in even if he would gift a necklace to the Duchess, she would be happy, or seeing the daylight, she would be happy, the cherry trees would make her happy, or the white mule that she rode on, that also made her happy. So you see that he is trying to emphasize over here that everything from the gifts that he gave her to the simple gestures, everything received equal admiration, whether you give her an expensive necklace or you do a very simple kind of a thing for her. That is how easily she would be pleased. She thanked men good, but thanked somehow, I know not how, as if she ranked my gift of a 900 years old name with anybody's gift. Who'd stoop to blame this sort of trifling? So the Duke over here feels cheated. He feels like, his man's ego is being tested, because the Duchess thanked others in the same way, with the same warmth. She showered for his significant gifts, like the family name, that the Duke feels that he has actually given the family name of being the Duke to the Duchess, and she has never been able to thank him in an extraordinary manner, just as she would thank a waiting person or the maid for doing her daily duties for her, is the same manner in which the Duke would be rewarded by the Duchess, and he did not like it at all. Even had you skill in speech which I have not, to make your will quite clear to such an one, and say just this or that in you disgusts me, here you miss or there exceed the mark, and if she let herself be lessened so, nor plainly set her wits to yours, forsooth, and made excuses. Even then would be some stooping, and I choose never to stoop. So the Duke over here acknowledges his inability to express his complaints directly to the Duchess, and he says that even though I did not like the way she would disgust me by not, doing things that would make me happy, yet I did not want to lessen her respect, and I did not want to stoop down to her level and insult her. Oh, sir, she smiled, no doubt, whenever I passed her, but who passed without much the same smile? This grew, I gave commands, then all smiles stopped together. There she stands as if alive. So the Duke reveals over here that he, out of jealousy, commanded the end of the Duchess's smiles, because he said that even when she would smile, the smile was no different. If she is looking at me and smiling, it was the same as if she's smiling at any other person present around. And then he says, I gave the command that all the smiles that are there on her face should be put to an end. So the abrupt end of her smiles is marked by her portrait, like the same way in which he would control the way she would smile has been captured by the painter in the portrait. Will it please you rise? We'll meet the company below then. I repeat, the Count your master's known munificence is ample warrant that not just pretense of mine for dowry will be disallowed, though his fair daughter's self, as I avowed at starting, is my object. So the Duke again over here once again requests the emissary to leave the portrait and join the gathering down below in the house. He reassures this diplomat that the dowry issue will not be a problem, repeating that he has a genuine interest in the daughter of the Count and not in the dowry that would be offered to her or to him. He continues saying, Nay, we'll go together down, sir. Notice Neptune, though, taming a seahorse, thought a rarity, with claws of Innsbruck cast in bronze from me. So the Duke over here suggests that they should leave the chamber or the room that they are in together. And as a final display of his wealth and taste, he points out to a sculptor of a Neptune that was a gift that he had received. Now the word Neptune over here means it is the Roman god of sea, symbolizing the Duke's wealth and power. Perhaps he got a kind of a sculpture of the Neptune, which is another way in which he is trying to show that how wealthy he is, and somehow indirectly we can say that he is trying to put an impact on this emissary, so that even though he is verbally rejecting the dowry, he should get something at least from the Count. So the three major themes of the poem are: firstly, the poem deals with the Duke's desire for constant control and his ability to be able to manipulate people and the situations. Earlier, when the Duchess perhaps was alive, he had manipulated her. He might have also manipulated Fra Pandolf into creating a portrait like this, and we see how he is manipulating or controlling the mind also of this emissary who's come here by showing off that wealth of his through the statue of the Neptune, but also indirectly saying that he does not want the dowry of the Count, but he wants the daughter of the Count and he wants to marry her. Secondly, the poem shows the role of art in capturing and freezing moments as well as objectification of the Duchess through her portrait. Thirdly, we see that the portrayal of marriage is there over here as a kind of a transaction, because we see how there's patriarchal dominance in the relationship. Typically over here we see the Duke, who was a control freak. He had a controlling influence on his Duchess, the last Duchess, and the upcoming Duchess also. There is the beginning of control scene even before they have seen seen each other. So that's it from this video. I hope you liked it. Do hit the like button. Subscribe to my channel for more such future updates. Thank you for watching. Bye.